reason I want to do this is, so what we're going to do here today is I'm going to show you something that I've discovered relatively recently, how I can set this up for an easy, somewhat pain-free transfer later on in my process. I used to spend hours doing this. I've tried many different ways as far as how, to do this. Hand drawing from scratch, making a grid. There's a lot of different ways to get your drawing onto your canvas. It really just depends on what method you prefer, what you're trying to prove to yourself or prove to others. You're trying to do it the fastest way, the easiest way, the most skilled way, the traditional way. Any way that you decide to do it is kind of up to you. I choose to do a transfer, an oil transfer or a charcoal transfer. In this particular instance, I'll be doing an oil transfer. I like to do oil transfers just because they're very efficient, and I'm going to be painting over it in oil as well. That way my first layer is also paint and not charcoal. I don't have to worry about fixatives and having whatever. So we're going to do that right now, and I have my image here pulled up. Now this is just going to be a 6x6 painting. I'm going to be doing it for a course that I'm creating, and I'll be creating this painting for Principal Gallery in Alexandria. And I'll have some course materials related to this eventually available on my website. First of all, what we're going to do is we've imported the photo. I didn't record that part, so all I've done is opened this file that I already have saved on my desk. It's called Raspberry. Right here, you can see that, Raspberry JPG. It doesn't have to be a JPG, just whatever image file you want to work with. So all I've done is imported it in here. You can see here, it's just one layer. If you're not a Photoshop expert, I'm not a Photoshop expert. I'll be clear about that. So if you are a Photoshop expert watching this, please don't criticize me. Or, be kind about it if you want to help. I know enough to do what I need to do. So we have this photo is imported. I haven't done anything else. We have one layer. So we're just immediately going to duplicate that layer. We're just going to go in here and select duplicate. I'm just going to leave it background copy. I don't care about renaming it. It's perfectly fine. And then I turned off my background layer. You don't have to do that necessarily. It's just that way I don't accidentally select anything because it's off. So now, see, there's a background layer, and then here's the copy that we just selected. If you turn it off, there's nothing there because this layer is turned off. If I was to turn that on, you'd be able to see it. Again, I don't want to make this too much of a Photoshop tutorial, so I'm going to try not to be too technical. It's hard for me because I'm a perfectionist and I like to babble on like I'm doing right now. So we've created this new layer. You want to make sure that you're on that layer, that it's selected. Obviously, it's visible, but not only visible, it needs to be selected. Like right now, if I grab anything on the screen, it's going to be grabbing whatever is on this layer, which at the moment is nothing because it's invisible. So we're going to be on this layer right here. We're going to select that, and then I'm just going to hit Command A, which is select all. If you want to select all, I don't even know how to select all in here. You probably can do that, or you can just click on the window and then drag the whole window to select everything. If you click the window up here and then go all the way down off, so you start off up here and then end off, it's going to select everything. The foolproof way is Command A on a Mac, I guess Control A on Windows. I don't like to memorize all these keystrokes because it can be quite annoying, especially if you're learning something new. But Command A is a good one, or Control A for all. So I've just selected everything. Okay, that's all I've done. Very easy. It's very important. So now I'm going to click right here, Generative Fill. This should have already popped up by default. If it doesn't, I'm not exactly sure what to tell you. Again, I'm not a Photoshop expert. This should be part of Photoshop 2026. It is an AI feature. It's new to the program. I don't think you don't have to have any kind of subscription to use this. I think you get some free credits. I don't really remember. Again, I don't want to go into that because I don't really know, and so I don't want to give too much wrong information. So I'm just going to click Generative Fill. Now, you can see right here that mine is set on Gemini, if you click the arrow right next to it, it's going to have a variety of models. These are just AI models that you can choose from. By default, it's going to be on Adobe. It'll be on Firefly, one of these. I'm not exactly sure which one. These are great, but they're not good for what I'm going to do, as far as I know. Maybe they are, I don't know, but I'm going to show you how I do it. So we're going to go to Partner over here, and you do have to have a subscription for these. That's what the little magenta king hat there is for. And I selected Gemini 3.1 NanoBanana 2. Now I use this for a lot of other things. I'm going to be making videos on there because honestly it's a tool, as far as I'm concerned, that's just, I always run everything through NanoBanana now. It can help you in lots of different ways. This video is not about those ways, but it is one of the ways that we're going to talk about today that it can help you. Maybe one of these other ones works as well, but it's kind of like I'm not looking for other ways to do something that I already have a solution for. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to have Gemini selected. I'm just using the latest version, I think. NanoBanana 2, Gemini 3.1. So that's all we've done. So we've selected everything, but we're making sure that we're using the right model. And then all I'm going to do is type a prompt in here. Now I already have the prompt written, so I'm just going to paste it in here. I'm assuming that you can read this. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. It says, without modifying any of the shapes, create a tracing outline drawing version for transferring to a canvas. Now, you can probably word this in multiple different ways and you'll get the right output. Basically, you can talk to AI, in my opinion, mostly like a person. I feel like sometimes we try and be really clever when we're talking to the computer, like we have to think like a computer, and it could help in some instances to think like a computer, perhaps. My advice would be, if you've not used AI, don't overcomplicate it. Just tell it what you want. And what I want is a drawing that I can use as a trace outline to transfer this to canvas. The one thing that I do know to say in addition to that is without modifying anything else. Now, in this particular case, maybe that wouldn't matter, but it's usually important to say, hey, do this, also don't do this, because it gets a little bit carried away in its effort trying to help you. So once you have this, that's all you need to do. You can hit enter or generate. I'll just click generate. Okay, so you can see here what it's done is just created a drawing, basically, which is exactly what I asked for. I can see a potential issue right there. We're gonna check this in a second. So all it's done, if you look over here in the lower right, is it's created another layer. Okay, it's just image masking and whatnot. It's just doing its little thing. None of that matters to you. If I turn that off, you can see that my image is still underneath there. It hasn't been damaged in any way. Okay, so here's the drawing. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to reduce the opacity right here. So I'm going to check this to make sure. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to check this just real quick to make sure the lines are in the right place. You see that spot that I said was suspect right there? It is off. It's just the computer lost sight of that line for whatever reason. There should be a line, the line should go there. The reality is it's probably picking up that one, I guess, and then this one is just not distinct enough for it to grab. Again, you're a painter, you're an artist. You don't need every line here to be perfect. You're looking for a guide, okay? You're looking for a guide. You can see, like in this spot right here, like you don't really need this and that. That's something that you could just do later, but because there's so much detail in this image, it's picking up some lines that you might not necessarily need in there. But again, it gives you a very, I would say, better than a general idea of what it looks like. It's really spot on everywhere. Like right here, it doesn't complete that line, but again, you're an artist. You know what I mean? Fill in the gaps. Fill in the gaps, right? It's good enough. But so basically that's what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to check to make sure that my main lines are in the right spot, more or less. And you can see they clearly are here, close enough. You can see that this is not perfect here. So there are a couple of spots that are not great. But again, you really only need this outline here to be moving forward. You don't have to have every little thing in the right place. Usually it actually does a better job than that. Of course, the one time I hit record, it doesn't do as well. But in fact, just to show you how easy this is, let's just turn this off. We're going to go back down to this layer. Okay? We're going to go. So all I did was I didn't delete anything. I turned this layer off. Now I turned it back on. Now I turned it off. And so now I'm going to select this, which is our main image. We're going to select this. And I'm going to hit Command A again. And you can see how it outlined everything. Now I'm going to go back to Generative Fill. I'm going to paste this back in here. And then I'm just going to generate it again. It is going to vary. It is AI. It's recalculating this each time. So there's not a right or wrong way in its brain. It's looking at the ones and zeros and doing its little magic trick, essentially, what it seems like. But it's going to redo this whole thing. Now let's see if it does the same thing. So this is the new drawing, okay, that it did. And I think it did do some things better. Remember this spot right here? It had left that out, right? Here's the original one. It had, well, I wouldn't say it messed up. I thought this line was out. I'm probably looking in the wrong spot. It doesn't really matter. So here's our new version. I think it's going to be better. So let's change the opacity on this one just like we did before. And let's zoom in and check this image. So I can already see some spots that are better. It captured these details here better. Let's see. I feel like this line here was worse on the other one, but these all look like they're in the right spot. I'm looking at the outlines of all of these little cells on this raspberry, and they all look like they're following. Remember in the other one, this spot right here was messed up. I don't know if you can see my cursor. I need to figure out a better way to do that. Can you see it moving right here? This line was messed up in the other version. So I'm looking at all these lines and I'm not seeing anything, you know, here's a little spot that it missed right here. So this one looks better to me. This leaf has all been captured really perfectly. The main lines, like this is a little bit off here, but that's okay. Basically what you're trying to get here is just some lines to transfer over. It doesn't have to be perfect. Again, you're an artist, you can change this. So this is the one that I like. I like this one. I'm going to keep this one. So I'm just going to select this layer that's frozen right now. We're just going to delete it. I don't want it. Okay. Now I just want to figure out, okay, hey, how much do I want this? Oh, I'm sorry. First of all, we're going to change this opacity back to 100. Now we're going to grab this background copy. I want it to be on top. We're going to put this layer on top. The reason I want to do that is because if I change the opacity of this layer that we just created, it's going to make my black lines, it's going to make them gray. I don't want them to be gray. I want them to be black. Hopefully that makes sense. And so instead, we want to change the opacity of the background copy layer so that the background, it does the same thing, except now my lines are black instead of gray. Hopefully that makes sense. So now I have those lines are black. My opacity is going to be around 40%, 35% usually seems to work the best. So basically we have the image is on the top layer, and then we have the tracing drawing on the second layer, and then we have this background layer that we're eventually going to get rid of. That's my original. So now I have this drawing is overlaid, and the opacity of this layer is 100%, which is why my lines are still dark. The opacity of this layer is 40%, which allows me to still see the color and the detail underneath the lines, but it doesn't make the lines hard to see. So now we're going to do one more thing. We're going to select this layer, which is our picture. You don't have to turn this layer off, but I'm going to turn this layer off just for clarity. So we're going to select our new line tracing layer. We're going to go up here to Image, and then Adjustments, and then Invert. So it's just going to literally invert this, the opposite of what it was. So black becomes white, white becomes black. So the reason we want to do this, and then we can turn this layer back on. The reason I want to do this is because now whenever I trace this, the lines are white. So if I'm using a black pen or a black pencil or whatever thing that I'm using, it just basically fills in the lines. And so you know when you're done when all the white lines are red or all the white lines are pencil or whatever. You don't have to do it that way, but I would recommend it's a sort of a cheat code. Since we're tracing, we're trying to make life as easy as we possibly can. That's my opinion right now. If you're watching this, that means you want an efficient way to trace, to transfer your drawing to your canvas. This is the best way that I've found. There are other ways that I've tried. This is the best way. It isn't the fastest, but it is the best combination of speed and accuracy. I know when I do this that I have the lines in the right place. Painting is hard. Painting photorealism is very hard. I have plenty of things to focus on without worrying about if my stem line is in the right place. So I don't worry about that. So that's all there is to this. I like this level of transparency. I think it's good. I'm just going to take this top layer now. I'm going to right click on it and I'm just going to flatten the image. But so now we can't edit these anymore. I'm assuming you probably know how to use layers in Photoshop. If you don't, be careful about what I just did, because now we can't get any of those other changes back. They're gone forever. I mean, you can undo, of course. But so now what we're left with is one layer. So if I turn it off, there's nothing left. I can't turn it off because that's locked. So if I turn that off, there's nothing there, right? So we only have one image there. So that's all there is to it. You can export this any way you want. I don't really want to, again, I don't want to make this a Photoshop tutorial. I would personally probably just use export as. This particular junk painting is going to be a 6x6, and I want it at 300 dpi. So then my image needs to basically be 300 times 6. So it needs to be 2400 by 2400, except that math is incorrect. It needs to be 1800 by 1800 because 6 times 300 is 1800. So do proper math. But so since my image size is already 2048 by 2048, and I only need it to be 1800 by 1800 to get me a 6x6 image at 300 dpi, dots per inch. That's a quick calculation. You can also enter that stuff in your Photoshop image size. There's a lot of different ways to get there. I just know that in the back of my head because I do this all the time. So that I know that it's okay to have your image too big. You don't really want to have it too small because then you have to scale it up, and that's when your image starts to get pixelated. Probably not going to matter that much. Again, we're using these as references, not as giclée prints. That's all there is to it. You could change your quality here if you wanted. You could make this PNG it loses less quality, or actually you could export this as a TIFF and lose even less quality. Again, I'm not really worried about it because the JPEG, even at 6, is going to be plenty of quality. And then this is 1.5 megabytes even at 7 because it's only 2048 by 2048. And so that's all I would do. I would hit export and I would name my file, and then you're good to go. So, I hope this has been informative for you. This is I've arrived at this method after many trial and error, doing this by hand, creating stencils, drawing by hand, using the grid system, tracing over a photo, tracing over a black and white photo, tracing over regular printer paper, glossy, matte. I've just done this in so many different ways. And the fact that this AI now just does this for you. I mean, there's also ways in Photoshop where you can set this up, and it's kind of a pain. You can use contrasting and filters, and I mean, there's other ways to do this, but like just to be able to type one sentence into NanoBanana and have it do this for you, it just saves you so much learning, so much. I don't want to get into how much easier life is with AI. It's quite amazing, and yeah, you know, there's negatives. There's negatives to electricity too, but I'm surely going to use it to turn on my television or my YouTube, which is where you're probably watching this. So this is not supposed to be an AI lecture. So anyway, I hope this helps. Give this a try, and I hope it works as well for you as it does for me. It's really saved me a lot of time. So I hope it saves time for you. Cheers. Okay, that's a 24-minute video, dude. You rambled on and on and on, man.